gentlemen, what's today is Women's National Equality Day. And we're all for the women, for the ladies. And branch 24, we have about half of our shop stewards are females. Our full-time officers are females. And now, nationwide, women are running branches throughout the nation.
My name is Cara, and I've been helping out with the committee with the California Alliance for Retired Americans. So this is our event here. I just want to Mary Rose will be your MC, but I just wanted to highlight that today is Women's Equality Day in the United States. In 1920, it gave us the right to vote. In the 1970s, the women's liberation movement happened, right? A lot of changes, and we're here today. And so that's why our program is really focused on phenomenal women speakers that have been organizing in the Los Angeles area for quite some time and beyond. So we're super excited. Happy Women's Equality to many here, of course. And thank you to also the men and other allies present as well. So let me pass it on to Mary Rose, and she'll start the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will begin with our first speaker, Yvonne, President of the LA County Federation of Labor, AFL. Yvonne was elected the new president of the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, AFL-CIO, the LA Fed, on November 21st, 2022. The historic unanimous vote by her peers makes Wheeler the first Black woman to hold the title and makes her one of the most influential people in the Los Angeles politics. And California also, I say. The LA Fed, the second largest central labor body in the nation, is a federation of over 300 affiliated union and labor organizations that represent more than 800,000 members. LA Fed is known for fighting for better wages, establishing respect in the workplace, and the vast political influence their endorsements hold. I welcome you, speaker.
I'd like to start off by thanking Paula Salazar, and then I found out today Gwen and Cara for extending this invitation to me to speak with each of you. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm a daughter of Louisiana, where I was raised by two hard-working parents, one of whom was a proud NALC letter carrier and a proud union member, my father. And my mother, who was a cafeteria worker who did not have the benefit of a collective bargaining agreement. I don't want to age myself, but when I say I'm a daughter of Louisiana, I'm talking about the South back when the civil rights movement was awakening the nation's consciousness to the ills of racism and bigotry. Unfortunately, I know all too well from my parents, my friends, and my own personal experience how racism poisoned the soul of our nation. Growing up in Louisiana as a Black kid was not easy. Needless to say, I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. But my parents taught me the value of dignity and the value of dignity and of an education and working hard. While we didn't have much, we had enough because of my dad's union job as a letter carrier. I didn't fully realize the value of his collective bargaining agreement and how his union job created pathways and opportunities for Black men like him. But I quickly learned as my own personal story unfolded. Fast forward a few years, I quickly learned that my dreams was much bigger than what Louisiana could offer. So I moved to Los Angeles and got my first job as a regular rank and file union member at General Telephone Company. It was GTE at the time. I thought that Los Angeles was going to be the land of opportunity, and that racism was going to be a thing of the past. But after a few weeks on my job, I quickly learned that racism knows no boundaries. Racism and gender inequities weren't confined to the South. There was no sign when you leave Louisiana that said now exiting the racist part of America. Racism knew no geographical boundaries. And my job at GTE was a stark reminder of that. I quickly realized how workers who look like me, black women, were discriminated against for the pettiest things in the workplace, and I made sure to let my union shop steward know what was going on. Before I knew it, my fellow co-workers got together and pushed me to become the first president of my union. The first black woman president of my union. It was for no other reason than for speaking up for my fellow co-workers who were overwhelmingly women and workers of color. But in all honesty, I wouldn't have been able to be so brave had it not been for the fact that I was protected by a collective bargaining agreement. You see, our union contract allowed us to push back and call out injustice and inequality without fear of retaliation. Our union contract allowed us to call out racism without fear of being fired. Our union contract allowed us to call out gender disparities without the fear of being passed over for promotion, and our union contract allowed us to look our boss in the eye and speak truth to power. It was these early experiences, along with the mentors like Ophelia McFadden, who organized the first home care workers union in the country, Brenda Marsh Mitchell, who was a leader in our community, Arlene Hall Baker, who was one of the most prominent labor leaders in the nation, and of course my mother, Lucille Francois, who inspired and shaped me to be the woman who I am today, and I carry them with me today as the president of the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor. I will never lose sight of everyday workers who is playing by the rules, working their shifts, and simply want to keep a roof over their head and food on their table. That's what we're about at the end of the day. Dignity and respect for all, regardless of race, gender, immigration status, or sexual orientation. We are all workers at the end of the day who are giving our all to make our society a better place. Dr. King said all labor has dignity. And as many of you are aware, almost 100,000 union members are on strike right now in Los Angeles County. They're standing up. These workers all across Southern California are standing up and demanding their fair share. And when I hear their stories about their sacrifices of all these amazing workers, it brings justice to Dr. King's statement. After all, hotel workers and those in the entertainment industry who are making sacrifices every day that are on those strike lines are always essential workers who are grooming the next generation of thought leaders. They're the ones who are defining how to think critically, and they're calling out corporate greed. After all, if people didn't think critically or question things, I would not have been able to lead the South. We would not have had a civil rights movement. Women would still be resigned to their homes, and our siblings in the LGBT community would still have to hide who they are and who they love. But at some point in history, in our nation's history, our ancestors and those that are on that strike line were taught to think critically and question and challenge why things are the way they are, and think about what an alternative world could and should look like. And because of people like them, and Melinda Fuller here, we're making significant progress bringing justice to the forefront. My fellow sisters, brothers, and siblings, labor has always been at the forefront of the call for justice, and as long as I'm the president of the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, I pledge that we're going to take on the challenges of now and fight for the world that challenges the norms. Because that's what labor has always done, and the shoulders that we stand on today did that for us, so we have to keep that tradition going. Stolen wages, unsafe working conditions, fighting for anti-discrimination policies in their workplace, and fighting for the dignified wages and benefits against the same oppressive boss, that's when they fully understand why Black Lives Matter, why immigrant rights matter, and why LGBTQ rights matter. And that's when they reimagine and transform what a good job should and could be. And once you understand the power of those statements beyond words, that's when you realize the righteousness of their collective fight and how to heal areas of division. And that's how we begin solving challenges of our day, and that's how we rebuild our community and the Los Angeles labor movement. Change begins with an idea, planted by life experiences and watered by delicate hands of those of you in this room. And over time, these seeds blossom into the great society that we've all been waiting and fighting for. So when I see a room full of change agents, I'm filled with a refreshed sense of hope and optimism. Because I know that you're out there planting seeds of change every day. We will never run from a challenge. We will always stand up to bigotry, racism, hate, and corporate greed, and we will always stand united as one labor movement, as one community, and speak one righteous voice that demands justice for all. And let me remind you that no matter where you come from, no matter what you look like, or whom you love, there is a place for you in this labor movement. Thank you.